Hey everyone. So last week my father passed away, and man, I can't even begin to tell you how much of an experience this was. And we had the funeral yesterday, and today I'm just reflecting. I've been reflecting all week, but I've just been reflecting on a lot of truths and a lot of things that the Lord has really been teaching me, and He hasn't really allowed me to understand until really these last few days and just through this season where God was reminding me of His love for me and just and who He is as a father. And just before I share what's on my heart and what the Lord's just been kind of reminding me of, just want to just quickly share my father last week. He passed away of several series of heart attacks. He died peacefully in a hospital surrounded by our family, my brother, my mom, and myself. And one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make in my life, along with my family, was to consider taking him off life support. At the time, he went through, 3, 4 heart attacks, and because of the damage it had done, every subsequent heart attack that he would have had, and it was spaced apart over the course of like 24 hours, that would have allowed him to just not have the quality of life afterwards if he had recovered. But essentially, the Lord was already beginning to take him that day, and we were just only delaying the process. And so having him be taken off life support would have ultimately ended up with him passing away anyway. And so I've mourned a lot, I've prayed a lot, and I've just been sobbing a lot. But I'm just here to encourage some of you that are going through some difficult circumstances, whether your father has passed away, if your loved one has passed away, or any number of things that are very difficult for one to kind of really grasp why. Everyone asks why, and why is the timing. And even for me, it was the biggest roller coaster of emotions I've ever kind of experienced in my life. My previous video before this, I talked about how the Lord was really allowing me to open a lot of doors to reach some of you guys that are watching this video. And for a week, I've been kind of riding that. And then suddenly to have a 180-degree turn and have the Lord take my father through this circumstance was undoubtedly one of the most just flip of a switch type of moves that I've ever experienced in my life. And so you can only imagine that kind of pain and what I've kind of gone through. But I'm here just to encourage some of you guys, because as much as I've been reflecting on how much my dad had loved me and how much my dad, he was such a godly father figure for me. He was one that just prayed for me all the time. He was one that just always lived by example, and he always would, in patience and with just the most endearing and Christ-like character, he would reach out to me. But the fact that he was taken and that he no longer will be with me and with our family anymore just made me be tempted to question, the whys of suffering and life, and why God does what He does. And one thing that He reminded me of, and that He wanted to remind you of, is that the Lord is so good in all of these things. And as much as I'm mourning the loss of a father, I still have a Father in heaven, and I still have somebody that is always going to be watching over me, and He's always going to be knowing what's best for me. And I thought, oh, my dad, even him who knew something, and he would give me, and this is even to the passage in Matthew about praying, how much more, if your Father can give good gifts, does your Father in heaven, who knows all things, can give these perfect gifts to you at the right time and the right place, and to give you and to comfort you and provide for you so much more than my dad could have ever have done. And it's nothing to say anything against my father. He was a great father. But even if you don't have a good father, if you have no father, if your father is even just abusive or just not in a loving place, though you have that, you have somebody, and somebody needs to hear this, but God has everything in mind for you. He has the best in mind for you, and He's overseeing you all the time. And He was reminding me even through this season that throughout the rest of your life, Chris, I'm always going to be here. You may not have an earthly father, but I'm always going to be here holding your hand through this process through this life. And one thing that, the Lord really was comforting me in is that even though I may not, have him physically there or even see him, he's there spiritually. He's there just in my presence. He's there in my spirit, in my being, as I spend more time and more quality time with him. And one thing that you just need to be reminded of is that he loves you so much. God loves you so much, and I can't even begin to tell you how much he's just wanting the best for you, even though you might think that's not the right way. I don't see it happening the way that I thought it would happen. I didn't see it in the right timing or in the right place. I didn't see him working in this period or in that period of life. Does he even exist? Does he even love me? Or does he even care for me? And I'm here to tell you he does. He knows every single thing about you. He knows that timing. He sees everything from the past, thousands of years before, to the present, to the future. He knew that you were going to be born, that you were going to be doing the things that you were doing this day, this moment, and in your past and in your future. He knows all of those things. But God is such a patient and loving and such a good God that in all of those things, he allows certain things to happen for your good, whether it is to really protect you or really to just allow you to grow and to experience more of him. There are so many reasons for pain, and there's so many reasons that God allows these things to happen. And the one thing that he just wants to remind you is that he's not forgotten about you. He's always there for you, and he hasn't let any emotion, he hasn't let any single thought go by that hasn't crossed his mind and that he's aware of. And through those things, whether you believe or think that he is there or he isn't there, I'm telling you right now, he's always been there for you, and he's always there patiently waiting. And he just wants you just to reach out to him, just to experience a little bit of him. I was sitting by my father's bedside, and after he had passed, when that line just went deed, and just his last heartbeat just kind of just stopped, and the pulse said 0. I was just holding on to my dad. I was like, Father, please, won't you come back? It could be a miracle. It could be something that could be a story that I could tell. Won't you come back? And I was holding on to him. But I'd already passed, and he'd already slipped essentially through my fingers. And even through that, I was reminded, man, the Lord will never forsake you. My father can pass. He can come and go, and he was great, but he's never going to physically be here with me. And I'm glad he's in heaven. He's saved, and he's a believer, so he'll be in heaven. I'll see him soon. But the fact that he left like that, was just so devastating. But our Father in heaven, God in heaven, he will never leave you like that. Imagine if he just said, okay, for one day, nope. Man, you would experience things so, like, to have your heart and your breathing be put together like that, for your pulse to be working continuously. Those are all things that God is allowing, that he's willing, that he wills. And those things, even if he took his hands off for a day, that would be such a detrimental just a catastrophe for anyone in their life. But God knows, and he's overseeing that. He's reminding me, he's reminding everybody, those that are watching and that need to hear this, that he's always there, and he's always going to be there for you. And so I want to encourage you with this video and just ask that all you have to do is just come to his feet. Just come to him in prayer. Just humbly seek him in word and just ask him, Father, I just need a little touch. I just need a little bit of you, Father. I know you're there, and I acknowledge you're there, but I just want to meet you, and I just want to have that communion, that presence, that fellowship with you, Father. And so, if you're going through a tough time, you'll get through it as long as you are seeking the Lord. Christ will hold you through those tough times, and he will allow you to overcome. And it's about going through it, right? You don't need to suppress and repress and just kind of, put things out of your mind. You're going through it. And so wherever you are, if you're mourning, please continue to mourn and grieve, but do so with Christ there, and he will comfort you, and he will be there for you, and he's the Father of all things. So hope that is something that you can really consider and just take from this. But just want to encourage you with that. And I love you guys. God bless you, and we'll talk soon. So.